This is part 2 of 4 of a short film about how civil society organisations in Europe use data to hold governments to account for their financial practices. The purpose of this film is to highlight patterns in the problems that these various organisations suffered from, as well as to take a look at the technical tools that could be helpful in tackling them. To do this, we'll observe the whole process, starting with getting the data, all the way through to delivering it to an audience. So to start with, I asked, how do you get your data? And once you've got it, how useful is it?
There are quite extensive data about the budget in the Czech Republic, and they are like publicly available, and actually they are even in XML, but the XMLs are really bad design, so they are like the raw data and the sums in one column, let's say. The data are about every public organization actually, and if you have to somehow put them together, but the problem is that you have like, I don't know, 100,000 of the documents, and even more maybe. And well, the official website doesn't let you download more than like 5,000 a day, something like that. Like over a day, it's 1,000 and 5,000 overnight, something like that. And so it takes like 1 month or more just to download it. We started to use the Scraper Wiki website, and so like the raw data now it's at Scraper Wiki. Yeah, so you can get like the raw data from the ministry, like clean from the bias of the sums and that stuff which shouldn't be there.
Well, actually, it was quite easy to get hold of the raw budget data. We worked on the whole process of developing a system of participation in the budgetary process for about 3 years. And then we came up with the idea we could visualize the data, and the group who could actually do that formed. And then we asked the city, can you give us the data? And within a few weeks, we had the data. So what we don't have actually, but hope to have in the near future is access to the actual spending data, so that we can see how the spending actually compares to the spending plan.
I think that one of the main problems is that the information is quite scattered, and it's not coherent, and there's no analysis, no graphs, so that people can understand what this is all about.
Beginning, the data for Slovak public finance are available, but they are scattered and dispersed on various and numerous internet websites of the individual ministries or state organizations. Sometimes you get obstructions like they send it on the paper, so you have to retype it, all the tables and all the data.
Years ago, they took a very good initiative regarding, for example, program budgeting here in Greece. But unfortunately, they had to stop. So the way the information is presented, the budget and everything, it's very difficult for the people who do not work specifically on this area to understand where the money is spent, where the money goes.
It was a manifold challenge. One was to actually lay our hands on reliable data in a functional, divided in functional terms, so not just which unit of the government is spending how much, but what is spent the money on.
Passed the law a couple of years back, which was
about the use of administrative data and opening up as much as possible that data for research and policy design. And there was a completely justified concern for privacy. And then when techies and Agot and others put together the way to be done this, it turned out that those privacy issues can be dealt with in a, I wouldn't say it's a completely trivial way, but in a reliable way. You can anonymize data that you connect, and there are ways to make sure that nobody abuses that. So privacy concerns are completely justified, but very often they are used as an excuse for not letting others have your data.
The other thing that Germany is really good at is privacy. So I mean, it's no coincidence that the people who basically went to the European Court of Justice and had the EU farm subsidies policies basically led ad absurdum came from Germany.
But it soon became clear that budgets and spending data were not enough for the majority of organisations I interviewed. Corporate information, procurement, contracts, and information on extractive industries proved very high priority and very hard to get hold of. That is, with a few fortunate exceptions.
There is a highly praised e-procurement system called e-licitație, which means e-auction, e-procurement.ro, that obliges some of the public procurement to be done via this system. And at some point they were open enough to offer also all the data in a feed, so you could actually get it and reuse it. And I know someone that has done that for his company, so he wanted to reuse the data and to sell it to different companies. But at some point during last year, the owners of the system decided to cut that without any kind of further explanations. So they just added a CAPTCHA in order to complicate things.
I mean, public procurement data is updated daily because once the notice gets published, it's scraped and put in the database. Not so much with the grants, where the database needs to be refilled once a year, which is a tedious task nobody wants to do.
We have to build a program to download the extra program to download the informations.
We didn't really know that we are in the open data movement, but we have just realized that that there are so many public information on the internet which are available or should be available, maybe not so easily searchable, but still available and online, and we can scrape this data and just put them together and create a sort of who is who, a network of politicians and businessmen.
There's a couple of different tools you may want to use, right? And there's criteria by which you can decide which ones are appropriate. One, I think, is probably how often you need to have this data. There's data like budgets that only gets released every year, or in the case of the European Union, every 7 years. And then there's cases like Brazil, where they're releasing financial data every 24 hours. And so the more frequent your acquisition needs to be, the more sense it makes to invest into a programmatic solution where something has been programmed as a bespoke solution to a problem.
The information that I want to obtain from the public authorities, I usually make information requests and send them to the specific authorities. We send it by fax. I never sent it electronically.
You may submit your requests online, but the problem is that if you do that, you can't prove that you sent that they received the email. And this is one of the excuses that they use. If you go to the registration office and they put the date and the stamp, you are sure that they received the information. And if you go to court, as I understood from some lawyers' procedures, you can't use it in a trial that you send the email, because the date from the computer can be easily modified. And it's easier for a system like in Romania to have a registration number on paper or by fax.
Another feature of the Vampire Dudes is that we make analysis on various topics, and I'm now working on an analysis on the party finance during the last election campaign. And sure, I checked the data sets available on the website of the Permanent Electoral Authority. I also made some requests for information on the parliamentary parties, but besides that, I took a camera, walked through Boulevard Vraniali, took pictures of all the banners and so on, and afterwards sent a request for some prices from 3 companies offering outdoor media. The differences are at least significant. So I think that, answering to your question, the proper tool to use is a mixed tool. Actually, there are several tools that you can use, and as Cristina was saying, you cannot always rely just on freedom of information requests.
We have procurement data at the moment, like in HTML and PDF formats, but they kind of change regularly, and they have
easy to scrape.
So it's what developers don't like really much.
EU funds are easily searchable, but not in open data formats, and the agricultural funds are the ones which should be an example. And the company information is not free. So, or it's free, so you can get the data one by one in terms of each company, but then you have 2 captchas, and so it's not scrapable. And if you want to have the information in processable formats, then you have to pay for it. And so we have started with public procurements, and we've also realized after a while that we got the EU funds, the agricultural subsidies. We can also get company information, so company registry information. We cannot scrape it, but we got it from another company who. We don't have to pay for it because they give it to us pro bono. We're gonna place a banner.
It's kind of restricted, so we have only
70,000.
70,000. We have only information on 70,000 companies. Well, it will be enough.
So institutions have the obligation of having their budgets public. Not necessarily online, but at the institution if you want to consult it. This doesn't happen all the time. And they give you like scanned budgets online, which you cannot reuse. You cannot even copy like parts of the PDFs because there are PDFs that you can copy from.
Pictures.
Yes, the ones that you can. For the future laws in the parliament, it's even more.
The ones that I like the best from parliament is when you see a PDF that is locked, that was actually distilled from a JPG, that is actually a copy tilted like that of a third-hand fax. So all the letters are smudged and effaced, and you're looking at a very nice PDF, 5 megs or something, for just 2 pages of smudged third-hand fax. I was like,
fantastic tools that can also be used by non-technical users. Starting with things like Effie, FineReader, or Tabula, which are tools for extracting data from PDF files. But then also things like ScraperWiki or Simple Scrapers or Outwit Hub that would basically allow you to scrape content from a website and get it into a structured form.
The Public Procurement Office has a database with IDs of public procurements in Public Procurement 1 to N, and we try to rewrite the database and combine a real database from the HTML format. And a huge work. We have about 15,000 institutions, state institutions, local institutions, like the schools or university. It is an institution which finds by the budget. Okay. And each institution has a code, has an individual code. This in Hungary they call that PIR code. It's a numeric code, and this code is exactly show the one institution. One institution, one code. One institution has one code, and one code has one institution. Okay. But in the database generator process managed by the Hungarian Public Procurement Office, they don't use this code. They use only the name of the institutions. And if you have a long name of the institutions, in Hungary it's very complicated and very surrealistic language. And if you state A or A is a difference. So if they easily they can commit the errors to tape only the name, but why they don't use the peer codes? I don't know. This is surrealistic, because in the public procurement institutions, launch a public procurement is the companies, the tenderers, the second step, and after that institution choose. This is a winner. Okay, and we cannot contact to this network without the codes.
Often companies have different names, or the spelling varies slightly, or even you have company chains where there are now databases where you can kind of look it up and you can get some idea of what the real beneficiary of these finances are. So there's the services like Open Corpus that will help to kind of bring this back and normalize the data in a way where we can have more meaningful analysis of it. If you have a company that you're interested in, and you want to find out what kind of governments have been acquiring services or products from a company, then for Open Spending basically gives you a global search where you can kind of find out, okay, they've been selling stuff in Australia, then also to the Sheffield.
It takes very little for data that are nominally public to be unusable for many reasons. I mean, it all takes, the non-standardized way of listing the name of the company, right? If the same company is listed under 5 different spelling, that's enough for you not to be able to, or for it to take a lot of manual work to actually compile, useful comparative information about public procurement.
And then I asked how they clean up and work with the data.
In the second stage, basically, you've got this transformation, and that often involves kind of normalizing names into a common format, and this is where tools like Open Corporates would be useful, and other tools like Nomenclatura, which is something developed by the OKF, is useful. But then there's also kind of workbenches in which you can kind of work with data kind of hands-on to clean it up. In simple cases, that can be Microsoft Excel or LibreOffice, some kind of spreadsheet program. But then there's things like Google Refine, or Open Refine as it's called now, which kind of helps you to clean up data when it's messy. And then again, there's some threshold above which it makes sense to think about kind of creating software and programming your own process.
I prepare them in PostgreSQL normally, but then we move them to that API and to Fusion tables as well. But now I found out that you can have just, quite 250 megabytes on Fusion tables for one account, and just the one table has like almost 100. So, well, I'm quite disappointed now with Fusion tables.
We use data and e-views and SPSS at times.
One of the most regularly occurring topics was how to find influence networks and spot conflicts of interest, and there were numerous different approaches to this problem.
What makes it a little bit more sophisticated than other similar tools in the world is the article collection, because just as Orsi has said, there's a lot of already elaborated investigation, and the data it contains is not hard data. So who is the friend of who, or who is a relative of who is not that sort of hard data you will get from a public database or a dataset. The language of these articles is quite cautious. So you will never see the word corruption in these articles, or you will never read the word corruption, because journalists, I guess, all around the world, but especially in Hungary, are so afraid of defamation cases. So they don't really write down corruption, so they use other words, and we need to check all the articles, and we need to tag them manually, because we cannot robotize this sort of work. We have tried it. We have been thinking of making it robotized, but we cannot do it yet. And so all of us and the interns and the volunteers check their newspapers every day, and then we tag them. So we have tags for institutions, for people, for topics like healthcare or agriculture or police and things like that. So we tag these articles, and the articles and the tags will just be uploaded to the other database automatically.
Despite a lack of civil society organisations dealing with financial data in Greece, the data is being regularly used by techies. I met up with Dr. Bratsis and his students from the University of Thessaloniki, who are using data from the Greek government's new Clarity programme, Biavia, to perform automated analysis of some of the data.
Rel Finder is a tool that finds relations between two instances. For example, we can see the relation between two cities, Thessaloniki and Athens in Greece.
Data from Wikipedia. So you can see here that it's a graph.
They both belong to Greece, this country. They are populated places, and finds how they are connected through Wikipedia. Articles that refer Athens or Thessaloniki.
Who are, for example, born in Athens.
So Hadji Christos was born in Athens and lived in Thessaloniki. We confide the relation between the provider, authority, and manufacturers. See if they have previous history together, so you can decide whether or not they should buy something from.
Final question: how do you present the data?
Once you have a cleaned up data set, you come to this question of, number one, how do I present this data set to an outside audience? But even beyond that, how do I analyze it for myself? How do I answer questions that I have to this data set? And then also, how do I document what I've done to the public, right?
We use for the budget, we use the open spendings bubbles, and you've got really nice visualization of the budget, and just that's it. We used also like the API from Centrum Cyfrowe from Poland, so we are using now their API. I don't know if we will now move to open spending like in whole.
It's not my ambition to actually become a software developer and do those visualizations myself. I concentrate on the political side of it and try to inspire others and try to organize events and get-togethers to actually get people going.
It was an open source program which we used, right? I think it's based on the same thing that in the UK this project was made by. But there's a big barrier that the words in Hungarian and the numbers in Hungarian, and the you said, of currency, is larger and they don't really fit. And even if there is something like an open source, still there are a lot of modifications that need to be done. And I would wish for for something that is easily transferable into all the different parts of the world, and you don't have to redo everything just to put free data into different places.
So open spending basically tries to give you an easy means to upload data that can be in a variety of kind of different structures, but needs to be in a CSV file format. And then it basically gets put into one common platform in which you can kind of replicate the exact structure of your data set. So basically you provide open spending with a set of metadata about how this data is structured, what the different fields in the data mean, etc., etc. And then once you have this kind of abstract representation, what you get out of it is an interface. And this interface can be used by different visualizations to present the data, whether it's a simple search interface or some kind of fancy visualization like a bubble tree or another type of visualization. And what I think is really interesting about this idea is that initiatives from different countries can kind of use the same infrastructure then. You have this kind of common point of access, which is the Open Spending API, the Open Spending Programming Interface, and then other applications can kind of sit on top of it and use that functionality. And when someone in one country creates a new piece of functionality, that functionality then also becomes available to all the other users of this API that have different data sets in this common platform.
In the next section, we look at the impact of the various projects.